Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are diving deep into Intel's third quarter 2024 earnings announcement.
Yeah, a lot to unpack here.
We've got the press release, obviously, their earnings presentation slides,
Yep.
and even a CNBC interview with Pat Gelsinger, their CEO.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's got a lot of different perspectives to look at here.
Yeah, and a lot of questions too, right? I mean, Intel's been working so hard to get back to the top of the chip-making world.
For sure.
Making big changes and, really trying to shake things up.
Yeah.
So is this earnings report a sign that they are succeeding? Or is it going to be more of a, are there going to be some roadblocks?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are they on track or are they, kind of stumbling a little bit?
Right.
So let's start with the big picture.
Okay.
What are the big headline numbers that we should be paying attention to?
Well, that's a little bit of a mixed bag, honestly. Revenue is down a bit from last year, but they actually beat what the analysts were expecting.
Okay.
But then profitability took a pretty big hit. And that's where I think things get really interesting.
That's what I was going to say. Those charges are huge.
Huge.
Yeah, they hit themselves with $1 billion hammer or something.
Yeah, $18.5 billion to be exact.
Wow.
In charges. And there are two main parts to this.
Okay.
Restructuring charges and impairment charges.
Okay, so restructuring charges, just like in plain English, what does that mean?
Well, think of it as Intel's way of, tightening their belt a bit.
Okay.
They're spending about $2.8 billion to streamline their operations, become more efficient.
Makes sense.
So this can mean things like offering severance packages to employees,
Okay.
maybe reassessing their real estate holdings,
Okay.
even halting construction on some projects that just aren't panning out.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty common move for big companies like Intel trying to optimize things.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But impairment charges, that $15.9 billion, that's where things get really interesting, right?
That's the big one, yeah. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of chip manufacturing. The biggest part of that $15.9 billion comes from Intel writing off equipment that they bought for their 7-nanometer chip-making process.
Wow. Okay, so explain this to me like I'm not a chip expert.
Sure.
Because 7-nanometer, that sounds good, right? Smaller nanometers usually mean faster, more efficient chips.
Right, exactly. And that's what Intel was hoping for, but it didn't really work out that way.
So why are they writing off billions of dollars worth of equipment? That seems drastic.
Yeah, well, and Gelsinger actually admitted this in that CNBC interview we mentioned.
Really?
Basically, he said they bet big on the PC market continuing to grow like it was during the pandemic.
Yep.
They bought all this equipment for 7-nanometer chips, and then demand just kind of fizzled out.
Oh, so they're stuck with a warehouse full of, useless, expensive equipment.
Pretty much, yeah. It was a bit of a miscalculation, and what's even worse is that equipment can't be used for the even more advanced manufacturing that they're moving towards now.
So it's not just a bad bet. It's like they skipped ahead a generation of technology.
Exactly. They're moving towards something called EUV lithography, which is like using a super precise laser to create the tiny circuits on a chip.
Wow.
And their new Intel 3 and Intel 18A nodes, they use this new technology, and that old 7-nanometer equipment just doesn't cut it anymore.
Wow. So it's like they bought a bunch of, Betamax players right when DVD came out.
Pretty much. Yeah, tough break.
Yeah, you got to give Gelsinger some credit, though, for being so upfront about it.
Totally. Most CEOs would try to sweep that under the rug.
Right, exactly.
He seems to be taking it head on, but there are some bright spots in the earnings report, too.
Okay, tell me about the good news, because this has been pretty rough so far.
Yeah, well, for one, their inventory levels are improving.
Okay.
Which means they're selling more of what they're making. That's always a good sign.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're also seeing some signs of life in the 5G market, which is really good for their network and edge business.
Right. 5G that's been kind of slow to really take off.
Totally, but the potential is huge.
Right, exactly.
Also, their new Xeon 6 chip is gaining traction in data centers, which is a really important market for them. It shows they're still a major player in that space.
So they're not out of the game yet.
Not at all. And perhaps the most exciting news is that their progress on that Intel 18A node I mentioned earlier is on track.
This is the cutting edge stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is what's supposed to put them back on top.
Exactly. This is their answer to TSMC and other competitors. It's like the holy grail of chip making right now.
And they're actually on schedule.
They say they are, which is huge because these things are so complex and there are always delays.
Right, of course.
So if they can pull this off, it could be a game changer for them.
All right, so we've got this kind of, good news, bad news situation happening.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out a little bit and talk about the bigger picture.
Okay.
We're not just looking at numbers here.
Yeah.
This is about Intel trying to regain its dominance in a really rapidly changing industry.
Right.
So what are some of the key things they're doing to position themselves for the future?
Well, they're definitely not standing still, that's for sure.
Okay.
And they're not just focusing on making better chips either. They're looking at the whole ecosystem around their products.
What does that mean, the ecosystem?
So it's about making sure that the entire x86 architecture, which is the foundation of most PCs,
Uh-huh.
stays healthy and vibrant.
Okay.
They've announced this x86 Ecosystem Advisory Group, and they've teamed up with some big names
Oh, wow.
like AMD,
Okay.
Google, Microsoft, and more.
So they're cooperating with their competitors.
In a way, yeah, it's more about collaboration
Interesting.
than competition when it comes to making sure x86 stays strong.
Okay, that's a really smart move.
Yeah, because ultimately, a healthy x86 ecosystem benefits everyone involved, including Intel.
For sure. And what about AI? Everyone's talking about AI these days. How's Intel playing in that space?
Yeah, AI is a huge focus for them right now.
Okay.
They're rolling out new chips that are specifically designed for data centers,
Uh-huh.
but they're also pushing this idea of AI PCs.
AI PC.
Yeah, like laptops and desktops with built-in AI capabilities.
So like having an AI assistant right there in your computer.
Exactly, helping you with everything from creative tasks to everyday productivity.
Wow, that sounds pretty futuristic.
It's coming, and Intel is betting big on it. They think it could be as big as the internet or the smartphone.
So it's not just about chips anymore. It's about, changing the way we use computers entirely.
Right, and they're also making some interesting moves with their Foundry business.
Okay, remind me, what's the Foundry business again?
So basically, they're spinning it off as an independent subsidiary,
Okay.
which means it'll be able to operate more freely and attract outside investment.
Why is that a big deal?
It gives them more flexibility to compete with companies like TSMC, which are already major players in the foundry market.
Right, okay. So it's like creating a startup within a giant corporation.
Exactly, and they're hoping it'll give their foundry business a boost and help them catch up in that space.
Makes sense. And I saw they also got a big government contract.
Oh yeah, $3 billion for something called the Secure Enclave program.
Secure Enclave, that sounds kind of intense.
It is, they're building super secure chips for the U.S. government.
Wow, so like top secret stuff.
Exactly. It shows that Intel is still seen as a trusted partner for critical government projects.
So it sounds like Gelsinger's really shaking things up at Intel.
Yeah, he's not afraid to take risks and try new things.
But is everyone convinced that he's on the right track?
Well, not everyone.
Okay.
There are some analysts who are a bit more cautious.
Like who?
Stacy Razgon, for example.
Okay, I've heard that name.
He's been pretty critical of Intel in the past.
What's he saying?
Well, he's basically suggesting that Gelsinger might have overpromised and underdelivered.
Okay.
When he first took over as CEO, there was a lot of hype.
Yeah, it was like the second coming of, Steve Jobs or something.
Right, and Razgon's point is that maybe Gelsinger set expectations too high.
So maybe he needs more time to turn things around.
It's possible, but the stock market seems to be giving him the benefit of the doubt for now.
Really?
Yeah, Intel's shares actually jumped over 12% after the earnings release.
Wow, I'm surprised. I thought investors would be panicking after that massive write-off.
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But maybe Wall Street is looking past the short-term pain and focusing on the potential for long-term gains.
They believe in the Gelsinger magic.
Maybe. So it's definitely a company at a crossroads facing some huge challenges, but also some incredible opportunities.
And it's a story that's just getting started.
Exactly. Yeah, it really is. And what's interesting to me is this earnings report, it's not just about numbers.
Right.
It's a look into Intel's fight to stay relevant, regain their spot as a leader in an industry that's constantly evolving.
Yeah, it's like watching a tech giant do a high-wire act
Totally.
while juggling chainsaws.
Exactly. Lots of potential for things to go wrong, but also a chance for something really amazing to happen.
Exactly. So let's talk about the future then.
Okay.
Where's Intel headed based on what we're seeing here?
Well, I think the big picture is clear. Intel wants to be number one again in the semiconductor world.
Okay.
They've been trying to catch up to competitors like TSMC, and they're not giving up.
But that's a tough goal.
Yeah, it is. The chip-making landscape is incredibly competitive. Everyone's fighting for the top spot.
So how do they plan to get there? What's their strategy?
Well, they've got a multi-pronged approach.
Oh, okay. Lay it on me.
First and foremost, they're going all in on advanced manufacturing processes.
Okay.
We talked about Intel 18A, their most advanced node yet.
Right.
They're aiming to launch it in 2025. And those new customers they got, it shows there's real interest in this technology.
Yeah, that's a good sign. But for those of us who aren't chip experts, what makes Intel 18A so special?
Imagine a world with much faster and more energy-efficient computers and phones.
Okay.
That's what Intel 18A promises. It's a huge leap forward in performance and power efficiency, a real game changer.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is such a big deal, but it's not just about having the best tech on paper, is it?
No, not at all. They have to actually execute on those manufacturing plans.
And that hasn't always been their strong suit, right?
You're right. Execution has been a challenge for Intel in recent years. Delays, yield, issues, all sorts of things.
Which has given their competitors an advantage.
Exactly. So they're really focusing on getting this right.
So what are they doing differently this time to avoid those pitfalls?
Well, for one, they're investing heavily in new factories and equipment, and they're strategically bringing some manufacturing back to the U.S.,
Okay.
which helps with supply chain risks and, those geopolitical concerns that are always swirling around.
Makes sense, but it's not just about buildings and machines, right?
No, it's also about the people.
Okay.
It's a talent war out there, and Intel knows it.
Right.
They're aggressively recruiting the best engineers and scientists in the world, the ones who really understand these advanced chip-making technologies.
So they're really pulling out all the stops to get back on top.
They are, but it's not just about catching up. It's about pushing the boundaries, creating new markets, thinking ahead of the curve.
And that's where AI comes in, right?
Exactly. They see AI as the next big thing in computing, the thing that's going to revolutionize everything.
We talked about those AI PCs, which still sound pretty futuristic to me.
Yeah.
But what else are they doing in the AI space? What's their big vision?
Think bigger. They're developing AI-optimized chips for everything.
Okay.
Data centers, smart devices at the edge of the network, even self-driving cars.
Wow.
They want to be the AI engine that powers the future.
That's ambitious.
Yeah.
But they're going up against some really tough competition in AI like NVIDIA.
Right. NVIDIA's the big dog in AI right now.
So how can Intel compete with a company that's already dominating the field?
Well, they're taking a different approach.
Okay.
NVIDIA built its empire on GPUs, which are great for certain types of AI processing.
Okay.
But Intel is using their expertise in CPUs and other types of chips to create a more holistic AI platform.
Okay, so it's not just about having the fastest chip. It's about offering a more complete solution.
Exactly. They're betting that this comprehensive approach will win out in the long run.
And they're also focusing on making AI more accessible, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of their strategy.
Okay.
They believe AI shouldn't be a luxury. It should be available to everyone.
That's a powerful message, especially in a world where technology can feel so expensive.
And it's a smart business move.
Right. If they can make AI mainstream, they'll create a huge new market for their products.
Exactly. Those AI PCs we talked about, that's part of that plan.
Okay, so they're going all in on AI, but what about their more traditional markets, like data centers and servers? Are they giving up on those?
Not at all. They're actually doubling down on their efforts there.
How so?
They're continuing to innovate with their Xeon processors, which are used in tons of data centers around the world.
Okay.
And they're developing new technologies like their data center GPU Max series, which is specifically designed for AI and high-performance computing.
So they're not resting on their laurels.
Nope, they're pushing forward on all fronts.
But doesn't this all feel a bit risky?
Yeah, I mean, they're juggling a lot of initiatives, new technologies, a whole new foundry business, AI ambitions.
Right, and they're still recovering from those financial setbacks.
It's a high-wire act for sure, and some people think they're spreading themselves too thin.
Yeah, that they should focus on their core strengths instead of trying to do everything.
Right.
But on the other hand, this is Intel. They have a long history of innovation and resilience.
That's true. They've faced challenges before and come out on top.
And they've got a new CEO who's shaking things up.
Gelsinger's not afraid to take risks.
Right. So maybe this is a calculated risk.
Maybe they're betting big on the future, and only time will tell if it pays off.
It's a fascinating situation to watch unfold.
It is. Will they pull off this transformation and become number one again? Or will they stumble under the weight of their own ambition?
Those are the big questions.
Exactly. We'll have to wait and see.
So we've talked about Intel's plans for the future, but what are they doing right now to set themselves up for success?
Well, one of the most important things is fostering a culture of innovation.
They're encouraging their engineers and scientists to think outside the box, to come up with those breakthrough ideas.
That sounds great, but how do you actually create that kind of environment?
They're investing in research and development, building innovation labs, partnering with universities and startups.
So they're not just relying on their own internal teams.
Nope. They're casting a wide net for inspiration and collaboration.
That's smart. They're building an ecosystem of innovation.
Exactly. And they're also embracing open source technologies and contributing to industry standards.
Okay.
They realize that collaboration is key to moving forward.
Yeah. By working with others, they can accelerate the development of new technologies.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
And they're also focused on building strong relationships with their customers, right?
Absolutely. They're listening to their customers' needs and working to deliver solutions that solve real problems.
That's so important, especially in the tech world where things change so quickly.
Right. Customers have so many choices they need to feel like Intel is a partner, not just a vendor. And I also noticed that they're making a big commitment to sustainability.
Yes, sustainability is a major focus for them.
Okay.
They've set ambitious goals to reduce their environmental impact.
So it's not just about profits for them. It's about being a responsible company.
Exactly. They're taking a holistic approach. They recognize that success in the 21st century means more than just making money.
Right. It's about purpose values making a difference.
Exactly.
So it sounds like Intel is trying to be a leader, not just in technology, but also in values and impact.
That's their goal. Whether they can achieve it remains to be seen.
It's a journey,
It is.
but it's definitely a journey worth watching.
I agree.
So we've talked a lot about Intel, but I want to zoom out even further.
Okay.
Intel's story is part of a bigger trend that's happening in the entire tech industry.
What do you mean?
I think we're moving away from that old obsession with pure performance.
Okay.
You know, the idea that faster is always better.
Right.
There's a growing awareness that technology needs to be more than just powerful.
I think you're right.
It needs to be sustainable, accessible, beneficial to society.
Yeah, we're seeing this trend across the tech landscape.
Right.
Companies are realizing they need to think about their impact on the world.
Exactly. And consumers are demanding it.
Absolutely. They want to support companies that align with their values.
It's not enough to just have a great product anymore.
Right. You need to have a great story, too, a story that resonates with people.
And that's the story Intel is trying to tell.
Yeah.
They're talking about innovation, sustainability, social impact.
They want to be seen as a force for good.
Right. It's a smart move.
It is. Whether it will be enough to win over consumers and investors, we'll have to see.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
But it's clear that the tech industry is changing, and Intel's right there at the forefront of that change.
It's an exciting time to be following this industry.
Full of possibilities and uncertainties.
Absolutely.
So we've really dug deep into Intel's world, right? Seen the good, the bad, and the future plans.
Yeah, a lot to process.
It's like we got a sneak peek into their strategic thinking, you know?
Yeah, and for me, the biggest takeaway is that sense of contrast.
Right.
On the one hand, they're taking this massive financial hit with the write-offs.
Yeah.
It's a clear sign they made some mistakes along the way.
Yeah, kind of stumbled a bit.
Right, but then you see their stock price going up.
Right.
And it's like investors are looking past that immediate pain and seeing the potential for the future.
It's like they're saying, okay, you dropped the ball, but we still believe in you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that speaks to the power of Gelsinger's vision.
Okay.
He's painted this compelling picture of where Intel is going, and investors are buying into it.
It's a good story.
It is, but here's the catch.
Okay.
Having a good story and a cool new technology like Intel 18A is only part of the equation.
Right.
The real test is execution.
Can they actually deliver?
Exactly. Can they hit those production targets, avoid delays, win over customers, make those AI PCs a thing?
There's a lot riding on this.
There is, and that's what makes it so interesting. If they pull this off, if they overcome these challenges, it could be one of the biggest comebacks in tech history.
It would be incredible going from a company that was seen as falling behind to reclaiming their spot at the top.
It would be a huge achievement.
But there's also the chance they could falter.
Oh, absolutely.
They can spread themselves too thin.
Right.
The competition could outmaneuver them.
Lots of potential pitfalls.
So what should we be watching for? What are the key signs that Intel is on the right track?
Well, first, keep an eye on Intel 18A.
Oh.
Are they hitting their production milestones? Are they attracting those big-name customers?
So it's not just about making the chips, it's about getting them into the right hands.
Exactly. And then there's the foundry business.
Right.
Are they getting outside investment? Are they winning over customers who might have gone with TSMC before?
That's the big battleground.
It is. And on the AI front,
Yeah.
are those AI PCs gaining traction? Are developers excited about their data center AI solutions?
Okay, so we're looking for signs that their AI strategy is working.
Right. And don't forget about those partnerships.
Right.
That By 86 Ecosystem Advisory Group is a big deal.
Yeah.
If they can really collaborate with those other companies, it could lead to some major breakthroughs.
So it's not just about competition anymore. It's about working together.
Yeah, in many ways.
Intel's story is far from over.
Not even close.
It's a company at a crossroads facing huge challenges, but also huge opportunities.
It's what makes them so fascinating to watch.
The decisions they make in the next few years will have a ripple effect on the whole tech industry.
Yeah, they have the potential to really shape the future.
This has been the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
Taking you beyond the headlines and into the depths of Intel's world.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We've explored their Q3 2024 earnings, their plans for the future, and the bigger trends shaping the world of computing.
It's been a deep dive.
Hopefully you're leaving with a better understanding of this complex and exciting company.
And the future of technology as a whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never stop learning.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.